Well, hey, welcome once again to the Doctor of Digital podcast. And this is Mick, the Doctor of Digital Smith. And my special guest today is Brent Jacobs. Now, I wanted to get him on here for a number of reasons. And I thought it was really interesting because one of the things he's known for is the introverted business experience. Now, thinking, okay, if we're all introverts like I am, and he might be as well, what are we doing here? But audio and video. But in any case, he can tell us more about that as well, too. He also has an SEO guide for beginners, and that's really helpful. And of course, for my audience, I really wanted to know more about SEO. But I also thought it was very interesting. He's got international business experience in the global world that we're in. I also think that's a real draw. So, with that as a background introduction, Brent, welcome to the program and tell us a little bit about yourself. Glad to have you today.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. Yeah, it's indeed the case. I run multiple local SEO agencies. Not just that, I also have multiple e-commerces, as well as I do host the Introverted Business Experience. So that's a really fun project of mine. Um, yeah, I have been doing marketing for not that long. Actually, if we look at it from a realistic perspective, I haven't
Yeah.
been doing it for a long time, but I have had some success in it. Actually, the last 5 years have been amazing for me, and that's what I've been banking on really. Um, I must admit that marketing is really where I excel at, mostly because of my background in software development and um, overall my sales experience. But then that's why I started Introverted Business Experience. Is one of my weaker sides was
Mm.
mostly networking with people, right? Because I am an introvert, which is actually funny. Did you know that just because you're introverted doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad with people or socially awkward? In fact, one of the meanings of an introvert is those people that communicate with others but don't necessarily like they get drained, their social battery gets drained from conversing with other people, while an extrovert actually gets energy, like benefits from the conversation. I
Mhm.
personally am not a very social active person. I love doing my thing. I have a severe computer addiction. Um, so that didn't benefit me business wise, and I figured I'm the kind of person I believe that in order to succeed at anything, fears having fears is okay. Being comfortable is okay to an extent, but I feel the best way to get control of certain things that are holding you back is by just plunging in. So that's why I started the Introverted Business Experience to
Mhm.
hone that kind of side um, of my personality. Other than that, I've been really booming marketing wise because, I feel I start with zero. I didn't have money for marketing. I didn't have any prior experience whatsoever. So I didn't have anything when I hopped into the marketing world. And by not having anything, I feel like I had this edge over my competitors because I had nothing to lose. I just experimented with a lot of things, and I experienced so much by just working my ass off for free. And I felt like by having nothing to lose, I could, yeah, get ahead of my competition and learn a craft thoroughly. And that helped me to, yeah, start an SEO agency that I eventually started replicating. I'm very good at systemizing, so
Mhm.
once I identified my system, I could start different companies which had the same success. So I eventually just used that money to start more, and that way I got really into the, well, booming aspect of the financial part of it. I started blowing up really quickly after that, so I had some had some financial and business success over a very short time span due to, I believe, the ability of just having nothing to lose, and that helped me greatly with that.
Sure. One of the things I noticed now you've been in the field for a while. Could you address what you feel are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the field, and what could people see as perhaps the trends that are currently going on?
So with SEO, the main thing that we see a lot is that there's a lot of rehashed strategies, right? Like a lot of people, they will say this is working, but it's the same thing that worked in 2008 or 2010, and they present it with little to no data of it working. And I feel that right now with the current technology, we see that it in my opinion, it has never been clear to see what Google likes and what Google doesn't like, because with the whole AI coming into play,
Yeah.
we see the weak SEOs, they are panicking right now, they are falling off. So I feel that it becomes a far more data driven thing than it ever was before, because I believe in data, I believe numbers do the talking. So I feel that by the industry having to improve, we see less of the strategies that aren't necessarily ethical and don't work long term time. I feel like they are falling off currently, and I feel that even with AI content coming into play, I feel that high quality content has never been more important than it is today, because AI is great and I use AI for a lot of things, but one thing it cannot do consistently yet is fact check and create a good list of resources for that specific piece of content. And a good writer who is very educated in its field can write a piece of content that draws on emotion and has interesting facts in it. And right now, as we know it in the current SEO scene, the EEAT, experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, has never been more important than it is today. I feel like, yeah, data driven approaches become far more of industry trend than it ever was before.
No, that is what a lot of people would say currently a hot growth area. So I was interested in AI,
Yeah.
but anything else? Could you say that that is a hot growth area? And are there some other things that you would identify as what would be the hot growth areas currently?
Oh yeah, I'm first of all, I'm a very, very big fan of AI, right? Like, I work with local businesses most of the time, which means that, if you look at the average local business, they don't require um, as much in-depth content as, let's
Mhm.
say, a health website.
Sure.
So for me, it's far easier to create content with AI than it is for somebody working in the medical industry. So I believe that, like, I personally use a tool that automates all that for me, right? So use that in conjunction with somebody who does the editing and checks everything and adds some links to it, and you have a perfect fine piece of content that cuts down your, well, not only your content cost dramatically, but it also allows you to rank far easier, because if you know what you're doing, you can feed the right parameters, which basically could automate a big part of your job. So I believe that AI is definitely a big thing right now. Yeah.
So you had said and made a reference to what businesses can and can't do currently. So I think that's a good
Mm.
question to be asking as well too. What would you suggest that business owners should be looking at now, and what sort of things are things that should be interesting them, and what would they move their business into?
Yeah, so I feel like if you are a local business right now, SEO is great for any business really, but what you really should look at is, are you going to outrank any established franchise yet? No, that's not going to work, right? So you have to approach it a little bit different. And I think that you can utilize what the industry is giving to you right now, which is a data-driven approach with AI, and that's great, and that will work fine. But I think nowadays, especially with the current SEO trend, establishing a social media presence over investing too much into AI and stuff like that is going to be far more beneficial for you, as a lot of recent studies prove that they actually take a lot of social media traffic and all that into account. So I believe that even local businesses shouldn't so much look into AI and SEO as their initial go to, even though I'm a big believer of search based marketing. I believe that as a as a small business, you should be investing in social media and your brand awareness above everything else, in my opinion, because that's gonna get you a good longevity for your business in general. I believe that that is where it's at, and the traffic, well, the traffic you get from your social media is also going to be far more sustainable in the long run, as well as more reliable, especially with how the landscape currently is changing SEO wise. Like Google is currently in an uproar from a ranking perspective, in the sense of they're constantly changing things, trying to keep up with the AI content creation part of things. So I feel as a small business, you shouldn't necessarily look into how can I get into the game SEO wise, though you shouldn't neglect it entirely. But if you are going to enter in SEO, then make sure that your website is just very easy to use and the content is very based on EEAT, based on how experienced you are, what is your expertise, go as in depth as possible. I think that would be the better approach. But I would I wouldn't go too much into depth whether it comes to AI or stuff like that. That's just too early for a small business.
Mm.
And currently, at least with the status of SEO's algorithm and the uproar surrounding it.
Maybe because I'm in the field, I'm aware of it. It sounds like there's a lot of people who do this. So what I'm curious about is, what do you offer that could differentiate yourself from some other people? And what sort of expertise would you offer businesses that you would say they should pick up the phone and give you a call?
So it's very simple, right? Like as first said, I do not think that most businesses are ready for SEO, but what I do different with SEO
Yeah.
than other agencies, I personally would say, is I work very data driven, meaning I don't just publish content just to publish content. You know how many SEO agencies that create landing pages because they think that is what they are supposed to do, or create a topical map just out of nowhere because that's what they have seen in a course. I believe that numbers are never lying, and despite a lot of SEOs treating Google like some kind of conspiracy theory where they're literally ignoring everything it's saying, I believe that we should listen to our websites, and that's where I excel at. I'm very good at looking at data and translating that into an actionable strategy that can create results, which is what I believe also the main reason why I have such consistent results, right? Like I have a very long client retention rate, and that's mainly because my results are there and they are sustainable. Because not only do I, teach my clients what I do because I feel it's very important for my customers to know what it is I'm doing, I
Mhm.
also learn a lot by interpreting what their website is telling me and how I can approach their website based on what their website needs. And I don't just treat it like any other website that you find on the web. I believe that every website has their own plan and their own approach. And I think that that is the key currently to win. I think that that's also something that far too little SEO agencies are doing. Far too many people, especially in the local scene, are looking to game the system by getting fake reviews, driver directions, stuff like that. And that's great. That works. That's fantastic for them. But the thing is that that's not long term. I believe that gaming the system, there's a reason why a lot of customers lose the rankings over 6 months or 8 months, you know, because those strategies, I believe that eventually they do not last. Results are not sustainable, in my opinion. And that's where I come in. And that's the difference I make. Mine, well, they are.
I see. So you've been in the field for some time. You've identified some of the changes. You've identified some of the hot topics. You've identified how to differentiate yourself from other businesses, and you've given a clear philosophy of how you go about doing things. Now, I'm curious, of course, if a person has been listening, because the audience is listening for some sort of guidance or help, how would you recommend that they reach out to you, and how do they get in touch with you, or how do they stay in touch with the kinds of things that you are doing?
So the first thing I would really recommend is just check out my website, and that's like I'm not working with anybody through my website currently. The main reason for that is I'm building my personal brand, right? I only take clients in specific industries because I am very niche dependent in my agencies because I feel that that is the best scalable approach. But if you really want to increase your business, you can always reach out to me through my website, which is brent-jacobs.com. And you can also grab my free book, which is completely free. I'm not upselling you anything. I'm not leading you through this funnel that will end up asking you for even more stuff. And no, it's completely free, which is a step-by-step guide on how I learned SEO and literally how you can apply everything. It's as if you are looking over my shoulder, right? So um, unless you are in my industries that I'm working with my agencies, me working with you as a customer is not going to be a really feasible thing unless I see wins in your website. But still, if you do need help, you can always reach out to me through my website. Um, but the best thing would be for you just to pick up the free book or well watch my own podcast. But other than that, I'm very active on YouTube, Facebook. I believe that for you the best course would be to just pick up the book. It's completely free, has no upsells in it, and it's very educational. Yeah, it teaches everything I know, and again, yeah, it's free.
That's a great way to do business. It's going to offer something and allow people just to get to know you a little bit, you know. So I appreciate the time that you took out from your schedule and our guest today. So we learned a lot, got some good tips, and got some free things as well too. So I hope you reach out to Brent. Thank you very much for being my guest today, Brent. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you on the Dr. Digital podcast. Another exciting episode with another interview or someone else that will be of helpful to you. So get in touch with me as well too. And of course, you want to make sure that you positively review on Apple, share the content, and also let other people know about you. Until next time, day is full.